Okay, let's unpack this. We just got the news. Ozzy Osbourne passed away at 76.
Yeah, huge news. A true rock icon.
Absolutely. And, any public figure passing is significant, but this one, it just feels different somehow. It's already kicked off this much bigger conversation, hasn't it?
It really has. It makes you think about the whole cultural landscape.
Yeah, exactly. That's really compelling, I think, is how Ozzy's passing kind of shines a light on this broader cultural shift.
Right. We're not just talking about losing an artist we loved. It's like this moment forces us to look at how the idea of celebrity itself has changed.
How it functions, how we relate to it.
Especially with the internet completely reshaping everything. Our connection to public figures is just, well, it's not the same.
For sure. So for this deep dive, that's our mission, right? We're going to use the sources you've shared, dig into the insights, and try to figure out what defines a celebrity now versus, say, a generation ago. Why do some deaths hit so much harder, resonate more widely?
And what does all this media fragmentation mean for, our shared culture? Do we even have one anymore?
That's the big question. We'll try to help you understand why this feels like such a landmark moment and what it might mean for you.
Okay, where do we start? The news itself.
Let's do that. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, gone at 76. The family, Sharon, Jack, Kelly, Amy, Louis signed it. Got picked up by the son. They asked for privacy. Not many details on the cause yet.
Right. Pretty standard, asking for privacy.
But the reaction online, immediate, overwhelming. You look at X, Instagram, flooded, tributes everywhere.
Not just the diehard fans either.
No, nostalgia pages, random communities. It was just everywhere, which speaks volumes, I think.
It really does. And so something the sources highlighted was his reach across generations.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like his music popping up in skate videos, reaching younger kids that way. And then boom, the Osbournes reality show. Suddenly he's a household name in a totally different way.
Totally. Mainstream exposure on a massive scale.
So what does that kind of sustained, diverse appeal tell us, especially when you compare it to stars today?
Well, that's really the core of it, isn't it? These, let's call them old-fashioned celebrities, the ones who came up through traditional TV, radio, print.
Terrestrial media, yeah.
Exactly. They existed in more of a monoculture. Fewer channels, fewer choices. Everyone was sort of tuned into the same thing.
So they had a bigger slice of the pie, automatic.
A much bigger slice, and maybe a deeper one, too. There was less access, maybe more mystique. People projected more onto them, built a stronger emotional connection. It wasn't just broad fame. It felt deeper.
That makes sense. And his influence, it stayed huge right till the end. Remember that final Black Sabbath concert? They billed it as Ozzy's final show.
Oh, yeah, the charity one.
July 5th, a few years back. It raised something like 140 million or 190 million US dollars. The highest grossing charity concert ever.
Wow. That's incredible. It really underscores that lasting impact, doesn't it?
It really does. And, that massive impact throws this contrast into sharp relief. We actually heard about Malcolm Jamal Warner passing just minutes before the Ozzy news broke.
Right, I saw that too.
And obviously both are known figures, but the scale of the reaction, it felt very different. It really highlights how this idea of celebrity is shifting. It makes you ask, okay, look at someone huge online today, like the source mentioned James Charles. Millions of followers, massive numbers.
Huge reach. Yeah.
But is the connection the same? Is the audience investment qualitatively different compared to someone like Ozzy? Is it just clicks versus, actual care?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's where this idea of pocket celebrities comes in.
Pocket celebrities. Explain that.
Well, if we connect it back to that fragmentation we mentioned, the internet gives everyone access to so much information, right? But we tend to consume it in our own little bubbles, our own pocket corners of the internet.
Right, your feed looks different from mine.
Exactly. So instead of everyone watching the same 3 TV channels, we've got millions of different streams. They might all come from the internet, but they rarely converge in the same way.
Which makes it hard to build those universally recognized icons.
Incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Because those shared cultural moments, those water cooler moments, are rarer. So an influencer gets millions of views, sure. But is the emotional connection from any one person as deep? Often, probably not.
Like that example from the source, seeing some name, Tumat, more than Ozzy, but when Tumat died, cricket, no big deal.
Precisely. Because that deep, shared, almost communal investment wasn't there. It was wide, but maybe shallow.
So is it just that cultural touchstones are becoming more democratized? Like every generation or every niche group gets its own massive icons, but they don't cross over as much.
That seemed to be a big part of it.
So when we think about today's massive music stars, Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj, Morgan Wallen, decades from now, when they pass, will it have that same broad cultural echo as an Ozzy? Or will it be huge, but mainly within their fan base?
That's the trajectory it seems we're on. Look at Gen Z, for instance. The sources mentioned how impactful the deaths of Lil Peep, Juice WRLD, XXXTentacion were, all around 2018.
Right. Huge for their generation.
Absolutely massive within that demographic. They were genuine cultural touchstones, but maybe not universally felt across older generations in the same way, say, David Bowie's death. So the impact is still deep, just maybe not as wide. More niche.
It's a different shape of impact. Speaking of loss, though, the source mentioned something else, this feeling that an insane amount of people have died.
Yeah, that perception is definitely out there.
It makes you wonder, are more people actually dying, or are we just noticing more? The list mentioned was Wild Jim Shooter, George Foreman, Michael Madsen, Michelle Trachtenberg.
Wait, George Foreman is still alive, isn't he? Maybe they meant someone else, or it was just a rumor mentioned. We should be careful there.
Oh, good catch. Okay, yeah, need to double-check names like that from Ross. But still, Madsen, Gene Hackman. Wait, Hackman's retired but alive too, right? Okay, the source list might have had some inaccuracies or maybe speculation mixed in.
It happens with online lists sometimes, but the point remains, names like Michael Madsen, maybe they meant Wings Hauser, Irv Gotti, David Lynch. Wait, Lynch is still with us too.
What?
Okay, the perception is what's key here. Maybe not the accuracy of every single name cited in the original source material.
Right, okay. The feeling that we're seeing more loss. Even names like Phil Robertson, Pope Francis, he's alive too, Nikki Cox, Val Kilmer, Jonathan Joss from King of the Hill, the alligator from Happy Gilmore.
Okay, the alligator might be true or metaphorical.
Brian Wilson, Liam Payne, George Wendt from Cheers, and of course Matthew Perry, which was huge. It feels like a constant.
It does. And this raises that critical thinking point. Is it actually more death or just more visible death? In this fragmented world, maybe things just get amplified differently.
Especially certain kinds of, right? Overdoses, foul play. Those stories tend to get more traction.
Exactly. They become bigger news cycles, amplified by social media algorithms. So it's less about sheer numbers, maybe, and more about how information spreads now, what captures attention and all the noise. It changes our perception of frequency.
And that perception, how we get the news now, leads to some weird, kind of darkly funny modern moments. Like the source mentioning that morbid fact feeling when you realize an actor died while you're literally watching their show.
Oh yeah, that's a specific kind of jolt, isn't it?
Totally. Or the whole Trisha Paytas thing, naming her kid Aquaman. Seriously.
Apparently, yes, that's the name.
Wow. And the running joke online that her kids are reincarnations. First Queen Elizabeth, now the joke is it's Ozzy Osbourne.
It's the kind of weird, niche internet humor that bubbles up around big events now. It's how culture gets processed, in a way.
And it's often how people find out. That quote. This post is how I found out about Ozzy dying. That says it all, really. Social media is the news sticker, unfiltered.
For better or worse, yeah. It's immediate, but not always nuanced, or even accurate sometimes.
So, wrapping this up, where does this leave us? We've got this real sadness, losing someone like Ozzy who genuinely crossed generations, felt like a shared touchstone.
That undeniable loss.
And then we've got these bigger questions about where culture is heading. A world where those truly shared, universally known figures are maybe becoming endangered species.
That's the core tension, I think. And, knowledge is great, but it's most valuable when you understand it, apply it. What we've talked about today is really how our collective idea of celebrity is undergoing this massive shift.
From something that unified people.
To something much more fragmented, more personalized. It's a dramatic change.
So the final thought for you, listening, what does this all mean for us? If those shared cultural anchors, the figures everyone knew, become rarer because we're all in our own information bubbles.
Who will our collective idols be in the future?
Yeah. And how will we connect through them if everyone's corner of the internet has its own heroes? What does that do to a sense of shared identity?
It's definitely something to think about, a real shift in how we experience culture collectively.
Something to mull over.